Good evening, Serge.
Hi, Rebecca.
In 1999, one of your first predictions was that exhaustion would be a global epidemic and also sleeplessness would be a global epidemic. And in fact, we have seen and are seeing that continue to come to pass. So in a 2018 government inquiry into sleep health, it was found that 1 in 5 Australians are not just suffering from sleep-related problems, but suffering from a major sleep disorder. And those disorders include obstructive sleep apnea, insomnia, restless legs, and narcolepsy, neurological disorders related to sleep, including hypersomnolence. Now, that's 1 in 5, that's 20% of the population, and 95% of people have said that they have experienced some symptoms of insomnia at some point of their life. So clearly this is a major problem. What is actually at the root of this? How was it that you predicted this was to occur in 1999, before we had smartphone technology where the internet was in our pockets and people were, like hooked on the internet 24/7, which we saw come just a bit later. But we could say it's to do with screen time and stuff like that. But even that seems like, but what's behind the screen time? Why are people distracting themselves with screens late at night? So clearly there's something deeper energetically going on. So you're the man to ask the question about that. So I wondered, could you speak to that?
Yes, thank you. I just clarify the prediction. It was already active when I predicted it. So I said it's already an existing global epidemic that we're not aware of, sleeplessness and exhaustion. And I said if we don't get on top of it soon, it would just get worse and worse. So I just wanted to clarify that. So it was already in epidemic stages, epidemic proportion back then.
Well, so it has clearly ramped up a lot, because the study also found that 30 to 80% of the rise has happened in the last 2 decades. So you were definitely on the money with that, the rise of it. Okay,
so the world has very right, very accurate, and very aptly applied the science to what we call in esoteric medicine post-cause conditions. And we've got it right, be it a machine, a capsule, liquid, music, whatever it is that's going to help you get to sleep. The middle part and the root cause we're not very good at. And the world hasn't accepted that, but it hasn't accepted that because it doesn't suit the way in which people would choose to live or are choosing to live, and what comes with it. So if we open up the other 2 factors, the other 2 phases that contribute who we are as a human being, we enter into the world of integrity and responsibility, and not many people want to do that. So for example, if you understand the ancient saying that we're more alive when we're dead than we are when we're alive, you realize that they talk about us being incubated in a consciousness that doesn't give us access to our true levels of awareness. But when we pass over, we actually are in a situation where we have much more greater awareness, therefore we are more alive. Aliveness meaning consciousness, intelligence, and awareness, and realization. But so too, it can be said that we are actually more awake at night when we sleep than we are during the day. Because what we're able to access is amazing information that can be incredibly useful during the day. In fact, we are far more informed at night when we sleep, and I mean truly sleep. In other words, a very settled, deep, rested rhythm that allows you to feel complete by the day's actions. We are more informed about life, ourselves, our partners, our family, our work, and everything that we do in our sleep than we are during the day. So the idea of the sleep-awake pattern is to resource yourself in your sleep so that you are alive and awake at night, during the day, with what the night has brought to you. And the night is free of the interactions. It is you just dealing with the consciousness of space and intelligence. And that's a science that, we are so far away from. But the Ageless Wisdom has known this for thousands of years. This is not new to anybody who understands and knows the Ageless Wisdom.
We are eons behind, because what you're saying is that your sleep is so deeply important and critical. Now, we know that on a scientific level. Apparently we had to keep rats awake until they died a few weeks later from sleeplessness, excruciating death. We probably didn't have to do that if we were accessing more of our known intelligence. But until a few years ago, science didn't even really know we knew we had to have sleep, but what's it really for? Like an elephant only has to sleep 3 hours a night, but yet a mouse has to sleep 14 hours a day. They couldn't work it out. And what they finally worked out, a biomathematician from UCLA worked out that there's actually a wash that happens over the brain at night where on a molecular level, there's a cleaning out. It's like running the dishwasher. And all the free radicals and all the cellular damage that happens to you during the day, you actually get a wash at night on that physical level. But what you're talking about is something that's congruent with that, but it's going to a much deeper place within ourselves to resource that wash, so to speak. And that's what people haven't yet talked about on the energetic level or have any understanding of what that actually means. So tell us about what is this process called? What does it entail?
I don't have much knowledge about the science you're talking about, but I'm well versed in the science that I'm talking about, that I present. And it's not my science, but I'm just the messenger of the science because I'm connected to it and I can access it. But it's definitely not coming from Serge Benhayon, so to speak. Look, our sleep is to do with finding, first and foremost, settlement. Understanding that the body has to come into its own completion. And that essentially turns off what we call kidney energy, or our life force, our daily life force. And then it ignites what's called spleen energy, which is our night life force. Our night life force has a lot to do with constellations, cosmic activity, understanding multidimensionality, and access to what we can't access during our consciously trained conscious during our daytime, because we haven't been educated to hold multidimensional attention during the day. But at night, we haven't been trained to shut it down, so we actually go to sleep. When I use the word sleep, I'm talking about a particular type of sleep. In other words, a very complete day, a form of settlement that the body can surrender towards. And then we go into the sleep where we, fortunately, we haven't been corrupted to interfere with what happens at that time. So we actually get far more informed, as I said earlier, by our night activity than we do our day activity on a completely different level. And we could say that if we had great night's sleep, in the terminology that I use for the word sleep, we would be much more composed and our equanimity would be such that our dramas and our emotional disturbances wouldn't grip us during the day.
Wow, because one of the hallmarks of the insomniac's experience is an anxiety during the day and like such a want for sleep, that the anxiety levels then just push that sleep further away. And then you have another sleepless night, and then you go back into the vicious cycle of that. So what's actually happening there when, in fact, the sleep, the true and restful deep sleep, is the antidote to that anxiety? How do we break the cycle if you're someone in that situation?
We normally use sleep to regenerate, and that's how we've treated sleep. And I did also up until 1999, when I was 35 up to 35 years of age, and been involved in sport and a lot of activities. I need my sleep just like everybody else. I've never been a big sleeper, but I recognize sleep as a form of regeneration. But since 1999 and my reconnection to the Ageless Wisdom, I've reassessed based on my body's activity and understanding of what sleep is. So at night, when we sleep, we are resourcing everything that is available to us. And so we don't wake up starved. We don't wake up anxious. We wake up alive, purposeful, and as I call it, on the readiness. We're very ready to embrace the day, whatever that may be. Imperfectly so, it's not bulletproof, but it's a readiness that allows you to not need any form of stimulation, because the day itself is already rich by what you have been prepared to embrace. Even though you may not have the details of what's ahead of you, you feel buoyed by what's occurred without you knowing.
Beautiful. But you have to prepare for a state to put yourself into that state of sleep, don't you? Because we've also seen the rise of caffeine and energy drinks to get people through their tiredness, etc. Except studies show that if you have a coffee even 6 hours before you go to sleep, it is going to cause a disturbance to the quality of sleep you're in. So people are trying to medicate their tiredness with something that is going to completely destroy their quality of sleep that next night. So it's a very quick fix solution that's actually causing more harm. So what do you suggest people do to move towards this utopia of sleep? It sounds like for some people, what this true restful sleep. How do we get there? How do people prepare for that?
Firstly, I want to go back and qualify the predictions that I made, my first two predictions in 1999. I've subsequently made others, of course, that have come true. I just wanted to share that as well, which we can cover in other episodes. But exhaustion, the prediction of global exhaustion that I mentioned in 1999 was not relative and not related to sleep disorders. That came from the way in which we move incongruent to the cycles that we're in and our resistance to what is on offer by way of our expanded consciousness. When you move against a cycle, you are exhausted. It's like swimming upstream, as the idiom says. Now, when it comes to sleep at night, the preparation for our sleep, it actually begins at around 5 p.m., 7 p.m. when we're supposed to be winding down. And a lot of us have got a lot of work on, and we need to work at that time. But there's a way to work and still produce prolifically, but not be engaged by way of taking in what is going on. And so you can still produce, but you're not engaging the world in the way you normally do by being responsive to everything. So you're still engaging, but only towards the project. So that's just one example of that you can use if you're still working at night. The main thing is to switch off, basically, just to let yourself wind down and canoe yourself downstream and put the paddles away and prepare yourself, because you're going to go into a very deep sleep. And that's the beauty of it. And the key is to also not feel like you've been ripped off by the day. So I always say, complete the day. Make sure you've expressed everything you have to express. Do all the work that is there to be done. Don't delay things. Don't leave anything for mañana. And allow things to complete. And then you can rest. Put your body to bed and go, fantastic, well done. See you later. See you tomorrow.
But I suppose the reinterpreted version of that is, I've got to finish all my tick boxes on my list, which isn't what you're talking about, is it? Because a lot of people wake up stressed in the night about work, about what they haven't done, etc., etc. But there's a way to complete the day without it being about doing everything that's there, because as anyone that works in a modern office environment or workplace knows, there's always something more to be done. There's always something more to be done. So you're talking about a feeling of completion because you've been responsive in the moment to what was required, no less and no more, and therefore you're at ease with it. It's not a doing until you run ragged, is it?
First of all, you have to have a very good standard of output and not a low one. So have a high standard of output and know that you can perform to it. Don't exceed it, you don't have to. And you know that you can do it. And so you just do it every day. And if you do it every day, it just completes it. You feel complete. You feel fulfilled. There's nothing more to look to fulfill yourself. There's no need to reward yourself because you put in a great day's work or anything like that. You're actually rewarded by your own enrichment during the process of delivering what you're doing. And at night it becomes very easy just to let go and not look back over the day. You can read, I guess, sometimes, but I read my own books at night, actually. I don't read anything that is engaging. Sometimes I'll read articles that a lot of the students have written.
And when you say engaging, like emotionally inciting or in that way, because I would say on one level your books are very engaging, but it's asking for a settlement in how you read them.
My books engage inwardly, not outwardly. Yeah. They don't ask you to respond and take immediate action. They're asking you to respond by way of reflection. And that reflection then ends up being the actions later on, if you've realized what they are or when it's time for them to be realized what they are. Mm. So there are internal responsiveness. So that's what I try and do. I have a beautiful wife, we talk, I'm responsive, I switch off or not talk to her. We are still chatting all the way until we sleep, but it's not in a way that is engaging an outer response and an action, but enriching us with very much with internal reflections.
That's beautiful, and I've heard you speak before about using that time after 7 p.m. to really confirm what's happened during the day, yourself and others, and not start new things that require that arousal in your mental activity. Is that a good way to describe it as well?
We could say on a circadian level that 5 p.m. commences the appreciation time. And by 7, you're just confirming what you've already appreciated. And then you take yourself until 9 p.m. to sleep and bathe in that level of appreciation. And unfortunately, I only sleep from 9 till 1 a.m. Or fortunately, I only sleep 4 hours a day, and I'm full of vitality, and I don't need coffee or any stimulations. But that's not Superman stuff, and I don't recommend it to anybody. If that's what you do, that's what you do. But the point is that we don't need as much sleep as everybody believes we do. What we do need is the right amount of sleep for each person, be it 4 hours, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 12, so long as you're getting the correct sleep. Mm. But to shut down at night for the sake of regenerating, the body says, really, that's boring. I'm not here to regenerate. I'm here to enrich myself with information and understanding and multidimensionality and understanding who I really am in my multidimensional self.
Because when you wake from that kind of sleep, there's a sense of spaciousness. There's a sense that the day is not bigger than you, that you're bringing a volume to your day, and that is enriching. But so many people are collapsing into bed. Like there's two types. There's the people that are having trouble sleeping at all, and they're wired till all hours of the night, or maybe they're waking up earlier than's natural for their body because they're in stress, or their head slamming on the pillow and they're out in 30 seconds, and it's a heavy, heavy sleep, and you wake up and you still feel like you're hit by a truck. And it doesn't make sense. Like so many people, say 8 hours is recommended, but people are still waking up after 8 hours feeling that hit by a truck feeling. So you're talking about it having to be a quality of sleep, not necessarily a quantity. And when you get that quality right, it's actually very potent.
Yeah, let me introduce one of the exercises that that people can try. The quality of sleep is based on the quality of the day when you're first starting out. That's what you practice. So if I were to wake up with, as you described, a very heavy morning where a truck has run you over, etc., or been hit by a truck, then I would question how I was during the day, not question my sleep or the type of sleep. That's a foregone conclusion. I woke up like that, it's not a great sleep. So I will look at how I was during the day, but particularly between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. What was I engaged in? What was I doing? What was unresolved? What did I let get me? What entered, what disturbed, etc., etc. Then after a while, when you have that rhythm correct and you can take yourself into a complete and settled form of being into sleep, then you realize that the quality of sleep is what drives the day. And that's when you get into the real rhythm, where you are informed, enriched, and you wake up informed and enriched. And the quality of your day is based on the quality of your sleep. So at first, the quality of your day to get you right sleep, and then later on, it's the quality of sleep to enrich your day.
Right. So that's a good place to start. Is that starting to assess that 3 p.m. till 9 p.m. experience? And that's a manageable thing to look at as well. That makes it quite finite to say, okay, what's happening during that time, and how can I be less emotionally reactive to a work situation or a colleague, or like what am I leaving undone that makes me then stress later? These are all the kind of things that you can look at. And whether you're eating and drinking foods that are going to make you more racy and make sleep harder as well, that's all part of it, isn't it?
That's correct. And look, I'm the proof in the pudding, because everyone knows I work from 2 a.m. till 7 or 8 at night if I need to, or even longer, and I can even start at 1 a.m. if need be. And I'm not surviving on any forms of stimulation, etc., other than the enrichment of the purpose I live to work for. So it actually works. You don't have to have a magical cape around your neck. You don't have to have any special wands or anything there.
No wands, no wizardry.
No. It's very simple. It's just a rhythm inside your body that is settled, is willing to commit, produce, be responsive to everything and everyone during the day. So you open up. You don't. That's another thing. You don't hold people back, and you don't put up any barriers, because if you do, we actually get more drained by not living in our fullness during the day than we do by anything else, which is why I predicted the exhaustions, because we're fighting who we really are. So if I'm open during the day and I get lots of text messages, lots of emails, in addition to all my consultations and everything else that I attend to.
You're still the fastest responder on text message that I've ever met. Like it's out of this world for somebody that is working that much and is that busy. I've never experienced such responsivity. So it goes to show that.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself into rehab. I'm trying to make it at least 10 minutes after I respond. And emails, I can let them go overnight these days. But it used to be, a zero inbox and up to 200 emails a day. And, you have to also clear your inbox out of it, because it's mega storage there. It's very simple, Rebecca. You open yourself up during the day to be all that you are. You appreciate whatever's there. You don't have to criticize it or try and examine what you could have done better. That will naturally evolve. And you just, at the end of the day, appreciate, and you go into the settlement, and you go into the responsivity of the inner reflection with all your conversations, and then it becomes a very beautiful sleep. And I'm making it sound easy, and it is. It's really, really simple, but you also have to have the science of simplicity. You have to be very at ease with yourself to have a very simple life. And it's easier when you don't have tickets on yourself. So, you just slip back into the simplicity and you've got it all there.
So if you're invested in complexity and things being difficult and stuff, the simplicity caper will be a bit more difficult seemingly to begin with.
Yeah, look, I know there will be an episode in the future or the near future with regard to the more scientific aspects that I'm sure you'll want me to talk about with regard to sleep. But so far in this episode, I feel that we've presented, the tiny details that we need to start building and getting a grasp for what is to come, because the science is wonderful about who we truly are and what we need to honor. And if we don't honor that level of science, which the world unfortunately is not modeled to educate us on, then we are left in the science, which is a very good form of science, of the post-cause world. In the post-cause world, we have, very, very good sleep therapists and medicines, etc., that help humanity. But obviously it's not enough, because the statistics, as you read earlier, are showing very clearly that we're in trouble.
Absolutely. And what you've signposted here and what you always do signpost is the enrichment factor. So function is not enough. If we don't go to the fact that we're not deeply appreciating ourselves, then we're not going to go into sleep in the state that will allow us the settlement that gives us a true night's sleep.
Look, if you spend the day dragging your feet, you're not storing energy. You're not saving energy. If I spend the day dragging my feet, I'm going to be exhausted. It's not going to work. You have to have the skip in your step. You know, there's got to be some spunk in your movements, because if you don't, then what's enriching you? And you've got to understand that there is so much to do, and you've got to open yourself up to doing that. And that then changes the quality of output that we understand ourselves by. So I try not to use the word busy in the same way that people use the word busy, because if I did, then nobody would understand how ridiculously busy I am. But I don't consider it being busy, because it is just what we do, and I just keep it very simple.
And you never seem busy. Your output is massive, but you're never in the glorification of busyness where someone's overly stressed and they're like, I do so much. It's just a natural responsivity that, because you seem to be operating from that settlement, time doesn't exist. The space that you have to do as much as you do it kind of defies modern logic as to what a busy person looks like, because you just wouldn't characterize as busy, and yet you have the greatest output of anyone I know.
Yeah, look, and that comes back to being enriched during the night. So what we're going to do is we'll wrap this up, because what I want to do is introduce the factor of space as well, and you mentioned it, of course, and space first. The first relationship you learn to have with space as opposed to with time is simplicity. The moment you are in complexity, you get gripped into the fragmentation of life. And then you're governed by the rhythm of the tick and the tock, which is time. But when you have a relationship with space, you actually are opened up to responsivity. And so you're in the rhythm of being called to do and the response that comes with it. And when you do that, nothing can make you sigh or distract you, because everything has its place. And it's almost like if you open up your inbox and there's 50 emails, 100 emails, or 150 emails, it's like, that's what I do. And so you put yourself into a rhythm of doing it, rather than being overwhelmed, thinking that I've got to do that, plus, feed all the dogs and all the other animals, and take care of this and take care of that, and do my usual consultations, etc., etc. So what I do is I don't go into the fragmentation of that. You just hold everything in the space that it is, and then it just unfolds itself towards it. I know it sounds a little bit fantastical, and I'm not sure how it comes across to you.
I understand what you're saying, because everybody has experienced those moments where you feel like you're in flow. And if you're keeping up with the richness of the universe, then you'd be given the energy of a universal flow to what's needed to be done.
Yeah, and look, let's not finish on a spooky note, but I get enriched by the constellation of Libra. And that's what Libra does. And you get that at night. You are enriched by the flow, and you get such a level of equanimity that you wake up to, because you know that there is an enormous amount of energy pouring through you, not from you, that can be given and shared with a lot of people. And once you let it flow, you are energized by it. If I hold back to any single person, if there's a person I don't give my all to and say judge and say you don't deserve what I've just given the last person, then I get tired. It's very simple. It's a very simple science. It's based on flow, based on allowing the volume to come through. And once it does that, you get energized. And at the end of the day, you say, that's it, enough. And you don't turn off the tap. It's just that you make the tap run more inwardly than outwardly. And that's the science that eventually we will unpack in these episodes, I trust.
Beautiful. Thank you, Serge.
Thanks, Rebecca.
The material in this video is based upon the principles of the Ageless Wisdom, which offers an energetic understanding of life. Any references to science are references to energetic science, as presented by the Ageless Wisdom, and not to evidence-based science in mankind's current era. Any references to specific aspects of medicine are to illustrate the relevance of energetic wisdom, as presented by the Ageless Wisdom, in the interplay of bodily illness and disease, rather than contradicting the current theories of disease causation or in any way to replace epidemiology. The principles conveyed in this video are philosophical and religious, and thus are not verified within the evidence-based rationales and critical appraisal process of evidence-based science, including Consort 2010, compliant double-blind randomised controlled trials. Serge Benhayon and Universal Medicine's presentations and teachings do not diagnose, treat, prevent, or offer any therapeutic cure to any disease or illness, are complementary to medicine, and are never a replacement of or alternative to conventional medicine. If you have any questions or concerns about the prevention, cause, diagnosis or treatment of any disease or illness, you should consult a registered medical practitioner.